talk out some more elimination. So on page 49, I need y'all to do solving systems by elimination. And we're going to do day 2 now. Okay, once you have that written in there, if you will go ahead and flip over to the page. And I don't have much for you to write today, so if you want to, you can go ahead, you can pause and write those. I just have one statement, and then you can see 4 examples, but we're actually in the long run going to have 6 examples. So if you want to pause and write that really quick, and then I'll explain what we're going to do. Excuse me. So when we're talking about solving by elimination, like yesterday we learned that everything had to be lined up and that you had to have a variable with the same coefficient, and then you add or subtract, which I always had y'all do addition just because addition's easier. But today you're going to see that you're not going to have common coefficients. So here's what you do when you have no common coefficients. You must multiply one or both of the equations by the same number to create a common coefficient. Now, when I say a common coefficient, remember, we like to have a positive one and a negative one. So we may have to manipulate what signs we're going to divide by. So for example 1, you have x plus 3y equals 6, and you have 2x minus 7y equals negative 1. So since we do not have a variable with a common coefficient, so x is 1, x is 2, y is 3, y is negative 7, what you're going to do is you're going to look at them. My x's, I have 1 and 2. The first multiple that they share is 2. My y's, I have 3 and 7. The first multiple they share is 21. So this is where you get to weigh your options. Would you rather multiply to 2 or multiply to 21? Personally, me, I rather multiply to 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this top equation. And since my bottom one already is a 2, I don't need to change it. So I'm going to bring this over and make it 2x minus 7y equals negative 1. Now my top equation, I need the x to be a 2. But since this one's positive, I also need it to be a negative. So I'm going to just multiply the whole top equation by negative 2. And when I do that, I get negative 2x, I get negative 6y, and I get negative 12. Okay, now that I have a common coefficient, I'm ready to add. My x's will cancel, and I get negative 13y equals negative 13. I divide by negative 13, and y equals negative 1. Now you can take your pick and you can plug this back into the top original or the bottom original, but don't go with the ones that you changed. So when you're doing this, I'm going to take the x plus 3y equals 6, and since I know that y equals negative 1, I'm going to do x plus 3, and I'm going to multiply it by negative 1 equals 6. I get x plus negative 3 equals 6. Now to get rid of that negative 3, I need to add 3, and I get x equals 9. To write my final answer, I write it as order pair, and I get negative 9, 1, and that is my solution. Okay, for example 2, I have 3x minus 3y equals negative 3, and I have 2x minus y equals negative 5. My x's are 3 and 2, and the first multiple they share are 6. My y's are 3 and 1. The first multiple they share are 3. You can take your pick and multiply which one you want to. I like 3 better than 6, even though 6 isn't hard. So I'm going to actually leave the top equation alone because y is already at 3. So I have 3x minus 3y equals negative 3. But I'm going to multiply the bottom one, and since it's a negative y, I need it to become a positive 3y. So I'm going to multiply by a negative 3. And you got to make sure you multiply everything. So you get negative 6x, positive 3y, and positive 15. Now I'm ready to add. 3 plus negative 6 gives me negative 3x. Negative 3y plus 3 cancels. And negative 3 plus 15 gives me 12. Okay, from here, I just divide by negative 3, and x equals negative 4. Now that I have that, I can plug that back into my top original or my bottom original. It does not matter. I'm going to show y'all top this time. And I'm going to do 3 times negative 4 minus 3y equals negative 3. Well, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. So negative 12 minus 3y equals negative 3. I'm going to add my 12. I get negative 3y equals 9. I'm going to divide by negative 3, and I get y equals negative 3. To finish my solution, I must write it as order pair, so x always comes first. We get negative 4, negative 3. Okay, for example 3, I've got 3x plus y equals 2 and 6x plus 2y equals 4. Move this down so y'all can see. Okay, my x's, I have a 3 and a 6. Well, the first multiple they share are 6. My y's, I have a 1 and a 2, and the first multiple they share are 2. So I'm going to leave my bottom equation alone because y is already at 2. But I'm going to multiply my top equation by a negative 2. And that'll give me negative 6x minus 2y equals negative 4. Now, the reason I went with a negative 2 is so that way my 2's are different signs, so they'll cancel when I add. So now when I add, a negative 6 plus a 6 cancels. A negative 2 plus a 2 cancels, so I have 0. A negative 4 plus a 4 cancels, so I have 0 equals 0. Since this is a true statement, your solution is infinite. Okay, number 4, I've got 3x plus 3y equals 9 and 5x plus 4y equals 10. Everything's lined up. My x's are 3 and 5, so the first multiple they share are 15. My y's are 3 and 4, so the first multiple they share is 12. Those numbers are so close, so it doesn't matter. Just take your pick. So I'm going to actually change my y just because 12 is a little smaller. Excuse me. So to get my 3y to a 12y, I must multiply everything by 4. That will give me 12x plus 12y equals 36. To get my 4y to a 12y, I must multiply by 3. But since this one is positive, I want this one to be negative, so I'm going to multiply by a negative 3. And that gives me negative 15x minus 12y equals negative 30. Now I'm ready to add. 12 plus negative 15 is negative 3x. 12 plus negative 12 cancels. And 36 plus negative 30 is 6. I divide by negative 3, and x equals negative 2. Now I can take that and plug it back into either original equation. I'm going to go with the top one, so I'm going to do 3, but instead of x, I'm going to put negative 2 in its spot, plus 3y equals 9. Okay, from here, this gives me negative 6 plus 3y equals 9. I'm going to add my 6, and I get 3y equals 15. When I divide by 3, I get y equals 5. So when I go to write my ordered pair, I have negative 2, 5, and that is my solution. Okay, the last two examples, you got to do a little bit of work on them. Excuse me. I have 2x plus 4y equals 6, and I have 3x equals 12 minus 6y. These are not in x over x, y over y, equals over equals, and answer over answer. So the first thing I'm going to do on this bottom equation is move this 6 over here. Okay, when I do that, I now have 3x plus 6y equals 12. Now I have x above x, y above y, equals above equals, and answer above answer. So you just had to manipulate that equation a little bit. Now we're ignoring this middle one. That covers up everything. We're ignoring that middle one. So I have a 2 and a 3. The first multiple they share is 6. I have a 4 and a 6. The first multiple they share is 12. So I'd rather go to 6 than 12. So I'm going to multiply this top one by 3, and that gives me 6x plus 12y equals 18. And I'm going to multiply this bottom one by negative 2 because I want it to cancel, which will give me a negative 6x, a negative 12y, and a negative 24. Now I'm ready to add. 6 plus negative 6 cancels. 12 plus negative 12 cancels, so I have 0 equals. And 18 plus negative 24 would be negative 6. 0 does not equal negative 6, so my answer would be no solution, or you can write the words. Okay, last example. Again, I need to get this into x above x, y above y, equals above equals, and answer above answer. The equals and the answer are mixed up. So I'm going to take this 7y and move it to that side. That'll give me negative 2x minus 7y equals 26. Okay, from here, I'm now looking at the top equation and the bottom equation. I have 7 and negative 2, and the first multiple they'll share is 14. And I have 5 and negative 7, and the first multiple they'll share is 35. I'm going to 14. So I'm going to multiply this top one by 2, which will give me 14x plus 10y equals negative 26. I'm going to multiply this bottom one by 7. And I don't need to change my sign because it's already negative. So that gives me negative 14x minus 49y equals, and if you need your calculator for this, I haven't told y'all can't use calculators. So if you need your calculator, 7 times 26, and that gives you 182. Now I'm ready to add. 14 and negative 14 cancel. 10 and negative 49y make a negative 39y. Negative 26 and 182 make 156. And now I just have to divide by negative 39, which will give me y equals negative 4. I take this negative 4 and I put it back into one of my original equations. I'm going to go with the bottom one. We're going to do negative 2x equals 7 times negative 4 plus 26. I get negative 2x equals negative 28 plus 26, which gives me negative 2x equals negative 2. I divide by negative 2, and x equals 1. To write my final answer, I do x comma y, and I have 1 negative 4. If you have any questions, please let me know.